Now, many countries within the European Union, as we saw during the week, have experienced a swing to the right in recent elections, largely in response to irresponsible migration policies. Now, your column in the Sydney Morning Herald today, Parnell, outlined all of this, and you talked about the concept of virtue signalling that we see on the left, particularly with matters of immigration and what that means in terms of a swing to the right. How do you see, because I've always said that Australia will have its day when it comes to that sort of swing to the right, but we haven't got there yet because we haven't had the same sort of crazy left open border policy that we've seen overseas. What would it take, do you think, to actually reach a moment like that in this country?
It would take the current right government to be completely ineffective. So the centre-right that we have in Australia, if that is unable to be an effective counter-government or government, then we will get to the place that the EU is at now, because the way they have gotten there is by essentially saying we can't do anything about immigration. In fact, we should be welcoming it all in and having a completely filter-free immigration system, but also at the same time not being able to talk about problems of culture and cultural difference. So, you know, one of the things that I am always very keen to talk about in this debate is, rather than talking about races of people as problematic, we need to be talking about behaviours as problematic, because not every Muslim is somebody who sends their kid off to get married overseas in a forced arranged marriage, right? But people who do send their children overseas to get in forced arranged marriages, whether they're Muslim, Christian, Hindu or whatever, are engaging in a problematic behaviour. So we need to take racism out of this debate, and that's one thing the EU has not been able to do. They've constantly said whenever you criticise a practice like that, that is in fact racist. Yeah. So this is, you know, that debate has been allowed to get completely out of hand for years and years in the EU. And now people at the ballot box are finally saying, enough. You know, you, our leaders, have not been able to stand up and have this debate rationally. We are now in a pickle. I lived in Europe for years and I travelled around it, and I can tell you the amount of street harassment for women has gone up exponentially. And it comes a lot of the time from men from traditional cultures who have never been taught to respect women in the way that we in Europe expect it. And these sorts of things are, you know, that's changed society. People are not happy with that, and they're saying enough is enough. So that is, in order to avoid that happening, we need our centre-right government here to be strong on immigration, or even our centre-left government here to be strong on immigration, to be thoughtful about cultural integration, to make clear pronunciations on behaviour versus race, to do all of those things. And, you know, one of the things I said is that there's a sort of counter effect. You can virtue signal on immigration, and as a result of that, you create a really bad outcome because you get everybody in without any filters. But what you actually need to do is you need to do the reverse. You almost need to do a vice signal on immigration. Say, look, we are big and scary and terrible, and we do horrible, horrible things to anybody who tries to come here illegally. And when you can say that convincingly, first of all, people stop coming in dangerous ways that might kill them along the way. And secondly, the people who do come here can be processed quietly in a kind and empathetic way, because there are genuine asylum seekers, genuine refugees with genuine needs, and it's incumbent on us to do our part in helping them. It's
been amazing, Freya, to watch some of the indignant shock from some at what happened in the EU elections. Like, how could this possibly happen? Where has this rush to the right come from? It's out of ignorance. And I'm not talking about the people who've gone and voted for the right. I'm talking about the ignorance of the left, who just ignored the genuine concerns of people in the EU, and now they've gone, oh my God, they've gone and voted for someone who's actually talking about the things they've been talking about. How dare they?
Yeah, well, it's a great point. And I think to your question before about what would it take to see something like that in Australia, well, I actually think we're starting to see it with some of the anti-Semitism that's rearing its head, especially around the conflict in Israel and Gaza. I mean, I listened to all of the pro-Palestine live streams when they're posted on Instagram.
Lucky you.
And the stuff that is said is genuinely horrendous. One day the land of Palestine will be cleared from the filthiness of Zionists, stuff like that. We choose resistance 10 out of 10 times. People saying, I'm a proud Palestinian, I support the Palestinian armed resistance. This will only be restored through armed resistance. People are saying this stuff on our streets in Australia. And I am, you know, my own father's a migrant. We all, you know, are blends of everything. And that's what's so great about our country. But I'm sorry, if you come here, you have to leave behind old prejudices and medieval beliefs about, you know, conquest and land and all this sort of stuff. Like, you have to subscribe to our values.
Yeah.
And when we start to see groups of people not subscribing to our values, in fact, undermining our national culture and identity and social fabric, then I think we will see that same shift here, and it's already started.